Okay, good evening, students.
Good evening.
So, our today's lesson is on Max Weber. Now, Max Weber was a German sociologist who defined sociology as a science, interpretative science of science study social. So, sociology is an interpretative science which studies social action from the actor's point of view with the course of its cause and effects. Okay. So, that was the objective of sociology, and it was he used the principle of subjectivity. Used subjectivity for defining, for explaining sociology. Okay. So some of his important books. Number one, Protestant Ethics and Spirit of Capitalism. Then second, the theory of social and economic organization. The theory of social and economic organization. The third, economy and society. Major contributions. Number one, Verstheim. Verstheim. Number two, social actions. Number three, power, authority, and legitimacy. Number four, religion and capitalism. And number five, bureaucracy. Bureaucracy. So I will take the first concept, that is Verstheim. Verstheim. Now, according to Weber, sociology is superior science. It is superior than any other natural sciences because sociology studies social actions through interpretation. The basic objective of sociology is to study social actions through interpretation, or we call it as interpretative sociology. Interpretative. So against Durkheim's objectivity. We had discussed Durkheim. Durkheim's methodology was functionalist. He was a functionalist, and he studied social phenomena through objectivity, that is based on observation and experimentation. But Weber used Wertheim as a subjective understanding, as a used Wertheim as a subjective understanding, which was important for understanding any kind of social action. So, therefore, according to Weber, sociology is defined as a science which indulges in the interpretative, subjective understanding of the actions. I repeat it, sociology is defined as a science which indulges in interpretative understanding of the social actions. Now, since it is a study of social actions, the question is, what are social actions, or what is a social action? What is a social action? Now, all those actions which are attached with some subjective meaning.
Any action which is social.
Okay. I will take all your questions after the lecture. What is a social action? According to Weber, all those actions which are attached with some subjective meaning is the main concern for the sociologist. So, action is social when it is performed with regard to the presence of the other person. When it is performed in relation to the presence of the other person, only then the action becomes social. So, according to Weber, there are 4 types of social actions. Number 1, word rational action. So, this is a value-based action. Word rational action is the value-based action, and these actions are chosen because of the importance of the values. Okay. Now, next, Zweig rational action. Zweig rational action or the rational action. So this action is related to a particular goal. And this action is done in terms of efficiency to attain a goal. For example, doctor curing a patient, a teacher teaching a student, an engineer constructing a dam. They are examples of Zweig rational action or the rational action. We can also call them as goal-based actions. The third, the traditional The third is the traditional action. When the ends and means are determined by the conventions. When the ends and means are determined by the conventions, traditional customs, then the action is called as traditional action. For example, dowry taking was a customary based action. It was a traditional action. Of course, now it is punishable by law. But the start of this custom attributes to the traditions of our society. The fourth is the emotional action. Emotional action. The means and ends are oriented and influenced by emotions. For example, a mother slapping a child. Now, why it was done? Mother was not having any personal enmity with the child, but it was done so as to correct the behavior of his child, because the child had done something wrong. So out of her emotions, the mother got angry and she slapped child. So these were the four types of social actions as stated by Max Weber. Okay. Now we come to his next concept, that is power, authority and legitimacy. Power, authority and legitimacy. So according to Weber, the social action is further developed in the terms of power, authority and legitimacy. Weber defines power as the chance of man's communal action, against the resistance of others, who are participating in the action. Okay. Now, authority it refers to legitimate power. When power becomes legitimate, it becomes authority. So, legitimation involves the institutionalization of the power. The power becomes institutionalized. It is institutionalized. That takes place and it evokes a sense of duty to obey, irrespective of the personal motives and the interests. Okay. Now, this legitimate authority can be classified into three types. It's classified into three types. First is traditional, then charismatic, and third, which is the third? Yes. Which is the third type of authority given by Weber? Xenia, Monica?
No idea, sir.
It is
Sir, legal.
Rational
Legal authority.
It is rational legal authority. So, the traditional authority is based on the traditional sanctity of the customs and gives legitimacy to those possessing such authority. For example, monarchy. So, simply this type of authority is customary based. It is based on the past conventions and customs. The rational legal authority, it is based on, the charismatic authority, it is based on the personal charisma or the personal charisma of the leader, which is later routinized. Weber has used a term, routinization of the charisma. Charismatic leadership, like Mahatma Gandhi, King Martin Luther, Nelson Mandela, okay, Fidel Castro of Cuba. So they had the power to mobilize masses. They had the power to attract. They were the crowd pullers, and whenever they used to speak with such a affirmation that the people were drawn to their charismatic personalities. Okay. So this is how these leaders, they exercise authority over the masses. So it's clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So authority is a legitimate power, and the third type of authority, which is the rational legal authority. It is based on rules, laws. So this type of authority was one found in the element of bureaucracy, which is a rational legal authority. Okay. The best example given by Weber. So okay, so the next, I think it's clear. Power, authority, what is the difference between the power and authority? And
Yes, sir.
types of authority discussed by Weber: traditional, charismatic, and rational.
Rational legal.
Rational legal, or we say rational. Okay.
Okay.
Now we take the next concept, that is ideal types. Now we take the next concept, that is of ideal types. So ideal types is one of the major concepts in Weberian sociology. It is also known as typological analysis. Now, ideal types are analytical constructs, or we can say they are measuring rods to ascertain similarities as well as deviations. So they are used as a measuring rod to find out the similarities and differences in the actual phenomenon. That one has to study a phenomena, what is the similarity, what is the difference. Okay. So these types are used by sociologists, which are including the primary and the secondary groups, bureaucracies, types of authority as charismatic, traditional, and rational legal.
Legal.
So some of the characteristics of ideal types. Number one, ideal types are mental constructs.
Construct.
So they are constructed in such a way that they are kept at a distance from the real world. They are constructed in such a way that they are kept at a distance from the real world. Number two, they are theoretical tools. Functional as theoretical tools to understand the reality. Number 3, these ideal types are pure and abstract types. So they do not indicate anything that is normatively desirable. They are abstract. So some examples of ideal types: historical ideal types, which are found in some particular historical epochs. That is modern capitalistic marketplace. Number 2, the journal sociological ideal types. The journal sociological ideal types like bureaucracy. Number 3, action ideal types. So these are pure types of actions based on the motivations of the actor, like affectual action. And 4th, the structural ideal types, the forms taken by the causes and consequences of social action. The forms taken by causes and the consequences of social action. So this was about ideal types. Now we take the next, that is the concept of value neutrality. So according to Weber, sociology should be value free or value neutral. And social scientists should not let their personal values influence their scientific research in any way. They should not influence their personal influences, their scientific research in any way. The third, class, status, and party. So class, status, and party is the Weber's concept of stratification. So unlike Marx, who said that society was stratified into two, that is haves and have-nots, capitalists and workers, bourgeoisies and proletariats. According to Weber, stratification was multidimensional. Society is stratified on the basis of economics, status, and power. So, in other words, the stratification is based on class, status, and party. Class, the economic dimension; status, the social dimension; and party, the political dimension. So first I will take the class, the first element of stratification. So according to Weber, class is not a community. It is a group of people who share situation. And class situation exists where the three conditions are met. Number one, people have the specific causal component of their life chances. Number two, this component is represented by the economic interests, that is in the possession of goods and opportunities for income. And third, the class represented the conditions of the commodity or labor markets, that is called as class situations. So class refers to the group of people who are found in the same class situation. Means the people are having the same economic status. It exists in the economic order. Status. So status, according to Weber, is associated with one's lifestyle. Those at the top of the status hierarchy, they have a different lifestyle than to those who are at the bottom. So status is related to the class situation. Status is in the social order. Parties represented the political order of the societies. They dominate and parties, they were organized elements of the Weber's stratification system. Clear?
Yes, sir.
The class, status and party, the three dimensions of stratification of Max Weber. Now, Weber said the most important ideal type of a society was bureaucracy. And he said that bureaucracies are an ideal typical. Bureaucracies are capable of attaining the highest degree of efficiency. And therefore, they are the most rational. Rational in the sense they exercise authority over the human beings. So according to Weber, bureaucracy was the best administrative form for the rational and efficient pursuit of the organizational goals. In other words, bureaucracy was the best organization or the best ideal type for achieving the goals of an institution or an organization. Weber's ideal type of bureaucracy, they comprised of various elements. such as number 1, rules, number 2, competence, number 3, hierarchy, 4th, technical qualification, and 5th, the administrative tasks, administrative acts, decisions, rules, which were formulated and recorded in writing.
I think.
So that is why bureaucracy was referred to as a rational legal authority. It was the best ideal type, and it was a characteristic feature of a modern society. Now, Weber's contribution to sociology